and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning, the defending, and the undefeated IBF welterweight champion of the world, introducing the true Errol Spence Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, let's take a moment to talk about Kosei Tanaka. Kosei Tanaka, a fighter who is flying far below the radar on some people's guys to watch out for in the sport of boxing. Kosei Tanaka, who is in 12 professional fights.
Only 12.
Without a single setback.
No losses.
A 3-division champion. Kosei Tanaka, 12-0, 7 KOs. Let's talk about this guy for a second. Now, this is a guy that's making some waves in the hardcore boxing circles, the kind of boxing circles that aren't limited to only watching fighters the same nationality, the same race as them, that they don't just watch the glamour divisions like the heavyweight division or the middleweight division or the welterweight division. Essentially, hardcore boxing fans know about Kosei Tanaka, and they know that in 12 professional fights, this guy has managed to become a champion, not in one division,
Not just one,
but three. The same as a far more popular fighter named Vasyl Lomachenko. A good amount of the reason that Vasyl Lomachenko is viewed in the scope that he's viewed in
spectrum.
A good amount of the reason that he's as highly touted and talked about as he is because in so few professional fights, this guy's become a 3-division champion. It's not just, this guy was an amazing amateur fighter. He's also an amazing professional fighter. Good amount of the reason that is because, this guy's getting it done, and this guy doesn't even have 15 fights yet. And that same principle, that applies to Kosei Tanaka. He's only got 12 fights this
12 total.
But he's already become a world champion in far less fights than it takes the average fighter to achieve that same goal. Where most guys in their 12th professional fight are still fighting club fighters and journeymen, most other guys are still on the bring-along process. This Kosei Tanaka guy, no, he doesn't need that process. By 12 professional fights, he's managed to become a 3-division champion. And in all the same ways that is a reflection of his skill level, because lest we forget, when people talk about Vasyl Lomachenko, for example, achieving all these things so soon in his career, they're referencing his skill level, and the skill level it takes to achieve this kind of stuff in so few pro fights. Well, that same principle applies to Kosei Tanaka. Kosei Tanaka, who has held the WBO title at minimum weight, light flyweight, and more recently, flyweight, in defeating Sho Kimura on the 24th of September. It is for this reason that these achievements and this level of skill cannot go
unnoticed,
ignored. In all the ways that these are monumental achievements for a guy like Vasyl Lomachenko or Naoya Inoue, guys that are a bit more popular. In all the ways that those achievements are monumental and a reflection of their skills, the same must apply to Kosei Tanaka. And it is for this reason that Kosei Tanaka emerges in the number 7 spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. Now, as you can imagine, when it comes to the pound-for-pound list, which is one of the most hotly contested subjects in the sport of boxing, when it comes to that list, and an obscure fighter who isn't known by the mainstream boxing fans, boxing media, like Kosei Tanaka, whenever a fighter like that emerges on this list, or his name even becomes associated with the list in any spectrum, you can expect some resistance. You can expect a lot of people that don't know jack shit about this fighter to start denigrating him for the simple fact that they're ignorant to his career and his career accomplishments. But the thing is, your ignorance is not a measure of skill. Your ignorance or this fighter's marquee value and popularity, none of those things are what this list attempts to measure. What this list attempts to measure is skill. And based on the unit of measure which I apply to my list, those of you who follow this channel are already familiar with it. Based on the criteria that governs my list, there is a credible argument, a very credible argument, for Kosei Tanaka to be ranked amongst the best fighters in the world. It's for that reason he sits at number 7. Now, for those of you that are a bit more, I'll say critical You may be asking yourselves, well, if Kosei Tanaka's fought in the same number of divisions as Vasyl Lomachenko and he's never lost a fight, then why is he sitting at number 7? Why isn't he in the top 5 or the top 3? And here's why. Well, Kosei Tanaka has accomplished quite a bit in only 12 fights. In achieving a rank on this list, he is now being measured against all the other fighters that are ranked within it. And it's in that area you will see that, as accomplished as he is, he falls short in certain areas where other fighters don't. You see Vasyl Lomachenko and Kosei Tanaka, they've both fought in the same number of weight classes, but Vasyl Lomachenko's quality of competition is substantially better than Kosei Tanaka's. You know, Kosei Tanaka, he's become a champion in 3 divisions, but 2 of the world titles that he won, one at minimum weight and one at light flyweight, those were vacant titles. He didn't defeat a reigning and defending champion to obtain those titles, whereas Vasyl Lomachenko has beaten
2 champions.
2 world champions to Kosei Tanaka's 1. Just as well, based on the rules that govern this list. And a lot of people have mixed feelings about this fight. But, you know, Vasyl Lomachenko did collect the scalp of Guillermo Rigondeaux. It was my contention that against Vasyl Lomachenko, Guillermo Rigondeaux would be a fish out of water. He would be overwhelmed by the younger, prime fighter who just so happens to be the bigger man. But regardless of opinions and regardless of contentions, Guillermo Rigondeaux was a pound-for-pound fighter. And Kosei Tanaka doesn't have a scalp like that on his resume. His resume is pretty impressive for a guy with 12 fights. He's given 3 fighters, 3 undefeated fighters, their first professional losses. And these are guys who had more pro experience than Kosei had. Ryuji Hara, Angel Acosta, Ronnie Baldonado, all those guys had more professional fights than Kosei Tanaka, and all 3 of them suffered their first professional losses at his hands. So his resume is very much commendable for a guy with only 12 fights. However, no one on his resume is tantamount to a Guillermo Rigondeaux. They're just not the same caliber of fighters that he is. So in these kinds of areas, quality of competition, the amount of champions that Kosei has actually beaten, you know, it's there that he falls short. He hasn't beaten more champions than Vasyl Lomachenko or Alexander Usyk or Mikey Garcia or Canelo Alvarez,
Terrence Crawford.
and even in the case of a guy like So Rungvisai, who took out what was arguably the biggest scalp at the time. He took out Chocolatito once in a controversial fight that, you know, went to the cards, and he really sealed the deal in the rematch. He knocked Chocolatito clean out. That in and of itself is more of an achievement than Kosei has at this point in the juncture, because Chocolatito was a more highly rated fighter than anyone you can find on Kosei's resume. Unless we forget, the scalp of Roman Gonzalez isn't the only quality scalp on his resume. He's also got the scalp of Juan Francisco Estrada, another high-quality fighter. So these 2 scalps, they do put So Rungvisai just ahead of Kosei. You know, if Kosei collects another high-quality win, you know, there's a good chance he moves past So Rungvisai, especially if Kosei unifies a title or 2 or 3 more titles, if he becomes undisputed, things like that. These are the kinds of things that will move him further along on the list. But as it stands, he does fall short in some areas compared to other fighters that are ranked within the list. That yes, he's a 3-division champion, but 2 of those world titles that he won were vacant titles. And he only beat 1 champion. He only beat 1 reigning champion. Nevertheless, in regards to Kosei Tanaka being a pound-for-pound fighter, you guys need to understand something. A lot of people treat the pound-for-pound list as if it's a popularity contest, catering to fighters from certain stables and certain promotional companies, certain networks, and that's really not the purpose of the list. The purpose of the list is to measure the skills of the fighters ranked within it, and that's why it's important to establish a unit of measure so that the list stays factual and objective. And it is a matter of fact that in only 12 professional fights, not only has Kosei Tanaka competed in more divisions than a lot of other fighters who got 12 fights, but think about it this way. How many guys became a champion in less than 12 fights? And how many guys became 3-division champions in 12 fights? You'll find that a lot of your favorite fighters, a lot of guys that are very popular, that they can't say that they did that. But this guy can, and that is a testament to his skills. And it just so happens that that's what this list attempts to measure. It attempts to measure the skills of the fighters ranked within it. Not their marquee value, not their popularity, not how much you know about them, so much as what have they managed to accomplish in the ring that is a testament to their skill level. Now, in regards to the people that are currently ranked behind Kosei Tanaka, Unified Champion Jarrett Hurd, WBC and Lineal Light Heavyweight Champion Adonis Stevenson, and later Alvarez, these guys can end up moving ahead of Kosei, provided that they unify a title, provided that they add more achievements to their track record that make the statement why they deserve to be ahead of him. But as it stands, this guy's a 3-division champion. He became a champion in only a few fights, where it took these guys much longer to achieve that same goal. It's for that reason that he's ranked ahead of them, even though 1 or 2 or 3 of them might have collected 1 scalp, better than anything you can find on his resume. Overall, that 1 scalp doesn't speak more volumes about their skill level compared to his, when he's been a champion in 3 weight classes to their 1. Now, with these things in mind, Leo Santa Cruz, who sat at number 10, meaning he was in the most danger of falling off the list altogether and being bumped off, it being that he sat at number 10 and Kosei Tanaka is emerging on the list, Leo is off, Kosei is in. Now, should Leo Santa Cruz unify a title with someone, anyone of the other champions in his weight class, then he will re-emerge on the list, and it will be Adonis Stevenson that gets bumped off, because he now sits at number 10, in the most danger of falling off the list altogether. Need I remind you that Leo was more of a placeholder. There was a vacancy, an open spot in the list, and it had to be filled, and Leo met some of the criteria to fill that spot, but the argument wasn't strong enough altogether. I mean, the most recent thing he did was beat Abner Mares again. So, all things considered, those eggs need more bacon. But for now, Kosei Tanaka occupies the number 7 spot, Jarrett Hurd the number 8 spot, Elater Alvarez the number 9 spot, and Adonis Stevenson the number 10 spot, meaning he's in the most danger of being bumped off if he doesn't do something significant, something relevant in his next 1 or 2 fights, because he is being measured, he is being ranked and rated against all the other fighters on the list, and he's falling short of the mark. I mean, the best thing he's done in recent history is draw with Badu Jack, a guy who moved up from 168. And while it is quite an achievement for Adonis Stevenson, who's roughly about 40 years old, to have been the lineal and WBC champion at light heavyweight for so long, he's the longest reigning champion in that division. While that's an achievement, he's beginning to fall short of the mark yet again, because he's not accomplishing very much there. So, this is the way the cookie crumbles. Don't like it? Make your own fucking list with your own fucking rules and stop complaining about mine.